This sounds strange, but when I was born, my grandfather made me a journal that had space for every single month of my life. This journal started on the last day of the year. My dad wrote his very first note, which said, "Born 31 December at 7 a.m. Mum and Dad staggered up the path to the hospital at about 4. This was the second trip. This time they believed us." There might have been something in having my whole life set out in one place when I was young, maybe seeing the start, keeping small things that I wanted to remember, or knowing that an ending sits somewhere in here. Or maybe it's just that as an adult, I don't want to take any of it for granted. There are so many things happening at any time, and all I want to do is stop and watch them.
It was 2009, 2010.
Okay, I'm gonna need your help.
Yeah.
Was it December? This is the journal that my grandpa made when I was born. I'm just putting it into a new cover today because the last one is starting to wear out. And I got this really beautiful box made for it with a linen cover. I think it would be so nice to keep it on display and hopefully write in it a little bit more consistently. There are definitely a few months or maybe even years that I wasn't that good at filling it in, and I'm slowly going back through it with a lot of help from my parents and friends to see what we can remember during those times. But there is also a lot written in it, and this book was printed for 100 years. So I guess if we can assume that I'll live to 100, it means that I'm about a third of the way through now. I'm not always that conscious of the passage of time, and honestly, I'm usually just really present and enjoying each moment as it comes. But I definitely am reminded sometimes of just how finite everything is and how quickly time passes by. I think sometimes that's been a really positive influence because it's made me make changes very quickly to make the most of life. And sometimes I really just don't think it's that serious. We can try new things anytime, especially if they're going to be interesting or uplifting in any way. But on the other hand, it can sometimes be an overwhelming feeling to feel as though there won't ever be enough time to do absolutely everything. I think the best way I can describe it is maybe the feeling that I want things to last for a bit longer than they actually can. But I think overall, having this has always given me a really strong impression that life also isn't that short, or at least I never want it to feel that way. It can be such a huge amount of time and filled with so many different experiences. And having it set out from start to finish like this really just shows that every single stage is a continuation, and in that way, every single day is also just as important. A few years ago, I was burnt out, and it really changed my perspective of time. I was working as a corporate lawyer, and my day and productivity was all measured in billable hours. The thing that felt the most unnatural to me was that because I was struggling to keep up with the work, I was also constantly counting down the days until the weekend. Back then, I felt quite lost, and a lot of people asked what I would do instead, or what I would do with my life if I quit. It's probably the most unhelpful question that you can try to answer if you're feeling stuck. So instead, a friend asked me to picture what a meaningful day could look like. And since then, I've just tried to create as many of them as possible. I realized that the most beautiful things don't need to be created or changed. They're already unfolding. There's a line in Braiding Sweetgrass that says, "Sometimes I wish I could photosynthesize so that just by being, just by shimmering at the meadow's edge or floating lazily in a pond, I could be doing the work of the world while standing silent in the sun." For everyone else on the planet, their purpose is just to be. I decided to spend a whole day under the sun and went to the largest sand dunes in the southern hemisphere. On the way there, I found out that there would be a meteor shower from debris of Halley's Comet, so I spent the night out on the beach. When you look out far enough, everything else becomes smaller. Some thoughts seem less consequential or completely lost in the scheme of things. But we are also parts of the universe that are curious, and I feel like we can expand our time in it by appreciating as much as possible. Jason and I started taking a lot of photos, and it's definitely one of my favorite ways to appreciate our experiences together. The most memorable days are the ones where we're completely immersed in what we're doing, and if I could pick one day to relive, it would be the one where we reached Mirador Bay Stelis Taurus. We'd heard about this lake while we were in Chile and were honestly not prepared for the hike there. On the way, someone told us that it would be difficult, and it was, but it was also one of the most breathtaking places that I've ever been. This scene from the peak was one of the first photos that we ever took, and it's also now one of the first landscape drawings and oil paintings that I'll try to do. I first started drawing portraits a few years ago, and they've been the best way to share my art with other people and capture their memories too. Sometimes for the happiest celebrations and sometimes out of loss. Taking on other people's memories like this has shown me that the greatest gift we can give each other is just presence, because someone's presence is so strong that it will always be felt, even when that person is not around. And if I could pick just one more day to relive, it would be any afternoon that I sat on the arm of a lounge chair listening to my grandpa read from his favorite books. There are some things in the journal that my parents don't have any memory of writing, and also a few things that I didn't realize I'd kept. I recently found this ticket from my first date with Jace when we were 17. I remember thinking at the time that the movie wasn't good, but I must have known that some version of us in the future would know why I kept the ticket anyway. It's actually so strange to see what stays with us. I hadn't played the piano for nearly 10 years, but when I tried again, I suddenly remembered one piece. And when I play it for my grandma now, even though her memory is completely fading, she still remembers the name of it. This is a painting that she did, but unfortunately I can't ask her about it anymore. When I see her now, I meet a lot of other people with Alzheimer's too. I always thought that no one would remember things like your resume, but there is one woman at her nursing home who constantly tells me that her husband is a lawyer. She doesn't remember that her husband has passed away and probably stopped working a long time before that happened. So she still goes up to the front desk of the home every few hours as though it's his office reception. She tells them who she's there to see and is disappointed every time that they say he's still busy working.
I'll show you the photos one day.
Yeah, that'd be good. This is my popo when she was young and my gongong on a recent birthday. This is my mum and my aunt the very first time that they saw the ocean. I grew up seeing my parents film photos of an area in Yangshuo, China, and one day I realized that I was suddenly the age that they were when they took them. So Jason and I decided to visit the area for ourselves. It has changed a lot since then, but I could still see the 1,000 limestone peaks, ancient rice terraces, and rivers they had told us about. We crossed bridges built over 500 years ago and had our own version of a tea ceremony. Our friends gave us this paper that was handmade in Nepal, and we decided to use it to write a list. It said, "I don't think there's a single version of life where we're not together, but in this one, I want to remember." If you've watched this, thank you so much for spending time here. It would be great if you could subscribe to this channel for more videos, and in the meantime, I hope this has been a calm place to just unwind and reflect.
Of course you don't remember your little. It's so tired. funny actually.